7.28, and I understand that, yes, the patch is out, and I haven't been doing too much with that, but for me, it wants to, or I want to, kind of look at things as more of a, take it slow, let things settle down. I feel like Hoodwink is very strong. I kind of talked about that earlier. I'll put up another video in terms of what I feel about Hoodwink in another video, but I feel like that hero is a way to get free MMR. But before we go into that, I think another issue that I've seen, at least in the replays that I've been given, are attack vectors and ranges, right? As a support player, and you can be a support player, core player, whatever, but anything with a range, I think that the biggest thing is just understanding where your, your attack maximum ranges. So if I A-click this guy, this is my attack. Oh my god, he's gonna die. Hang on. That's gonna be my maximum, right? So wherever I go, and if you look at it, if I A-click this guy, and then you're going to see he's going to stop right at the maximum range, okay? This is pretty important because of the fact that if this melee guy acts, and I mean, yes, you can get blink, you can get force, and you can kind of phase boots, whatever, and just run up on the dude and just jump on top of him. But you need to understand that, in the laning phase, the first 10 minutes is going to be super important of keeping this maximum distance, okay? So if Axe decides to move forward, what you need to do is you need to run away, attack, run. I mean, he's going to catch up because he's going to have, the turn rate is a real thing in Dota, right? If you're taught walking, like, look at how slow I turn, right? This is a real thing. It's not like League of Legends where I can just stutter step to infinity, right? So this is the kind of thing that you need to worry about, of the fact that, like, if this guy's gaining on me and he's this close, he could potentially call me, right? So you need to keep this maximum distance. This is super important, okay? So if he's running up on you, you need to ensure that you keep this maximum distance, and you don't have to stutter step, you don't have to attack if he's gaining on you. Second thing for this is that, as a support, I mean, this is probably where I play mainly support, so this is kind of where my my experience is in, but you need to click on the enemy hero, right? This is the most important thing. Of all of these things, like, yeah, the other stats are important, but as a support, this is probably the biggest one in terms of the first 10 minutes. Understanding his movement speed. He's 310 versus your 285. Okay? So if we're going to start a race together, I don't know if I can do this. Axe will always be faster. Right? I don't know if you saw that in that little bit of space there. But Axe is faster because he has 310 movement speed. Okay? So you're always at risk of being run up on. Okay? So how do you avoid this guy? How do you make sure that you stay away? Well, first things first is you need to just you got to be safe in the sense of understanding where your tower damage is, or your tower range is, by hitting Alt, so that when Axe, which I can't see anymore, runs up on you, you can just run under tower range, right? Because if he runs to here, Axe is not going to walk under this because he's not going to want to take any of that tower damage. Okay, so you're protected, right? So when I say stuff like, oh, this guy's out of position or whatever it is, he's not knowing that, like, this guy is all the way out here. And he, you know what I mean? He can get cut off, right? Just like that. Call, pretty much you're dead, right? Especially at the laning phase where everybody's kind of weak. So it's super important of understanding where the enemy is and also keeping this maximum range even when you're not attacking the guy. Another thing. If we're going to talk about laning, I've seen too many people where, like, this is, let's just say he's like an actual offlaner or he's just trying to farm or whatever. What I've seen too many people do is just literally just come in and just right-click the guy. Okay? Notice how this creep actually aggroed onto me because I was too close. So what it is that creeps have a 300 aggro range. Okay? It's approximately here. It's this tiny little circle. Hang on, let me see this. This has, I don't know the actual range on this, but it's pretty much here. So what I can do, and if I A-click Axe here, notice how none of the creeps actually aggroed onto me. Right? This is pretty massive because, hang on, let Axe just kill all these guys. Right? So you're wondering if, like, oh, how do I attack and zone out the offlaner when, like, if I right-click him, look at how many creeps. All of the creeps start attacking me, except for this dude, because I'm outside of the 300. But this range, this melee creep started hitting me, right? So you have to understand your ranges. You have to understand where things are and how you do this, right? So what you can do is you step outside of the 300 range, and the 300 range only matters for what creeps are there. So like this guy, I can choose. Hang on, I can't do it now. But watch this. So I hit 3, and by the time I hit A, these 2 guys were in my 300 range. And that's why only the 2 out of the 3 actually aggroed onto me. Okay? Important, very important stuff, even for a mid. Any carry, any sort of, this is just good for everybody. It's not just supports, right? Understanding creeps, how to aggro, how to manage things. So, like, what you can do is that what you can do also is that this guy could be all the way in the bottom lane. Let's just pretend like this guy's in the bottom lane, right? He doesn't even have to be here. I could actually find him on the minimap. Oh, shit, I'm gonna lose vision. But basically, I just like, wherever he is on the map, and he could be in a completely different lane, but if those creeps are within 300 of me, they'll aggro onto me. Okay? So even when there's nobody in the lane, like, look at this. Look at how far Axe is. But I right-click him, and notice how everybody aggroed onto me. Right? So seeing as I'm running away, then the other creeps hit him, and then they kind of aggro this. So what can this do, right? So why would you want to aggro people? But you can kind of control the speed at which things do it, so that you can like have it so that this guy hits me. And I think it's better if I do it with this guy. So the range creep is going to push the lane, right? But if I actually take the creep and then I force it, hang on, I'll take the melee here. Hang on. I can't actually click on him. All right, so I'm taking the creeps and I'm pulling them away, and I might have to do this more than once, and I pull it again, and then I draw them to the range creep. Do you see that? How the melee creeps are still alive, but I can just draw it out. So I just constantly force aggro. Notice when they attack onto me, and then I have them attack the range creep. So very basic stuff, especially if you're talking about melee creeps and just managing the lane and where things should be pushing, okay? But it's super important because you need to understand how aggro works when you're even as a support, okay? So going back into this example here, and we'll just have Axe tank these guys up. Whatever. Okay. So if the guys are under the tower and the creeps are here, this is why being... Oh, hang on. I have no vision. Let me get a ward. All right. Hang on. Just showcase that. Okay. So what I can do is outside of the 300, right? I just click on X. Notice how nobody aggroes onto me, except for now when the creeps had died, right? So this is why... This is how you can get free shots. Yeah, let me just clear these creeps. Get out of my way, boy. By the way, my ping, or my FPS has just been disastrous with this patch. I think it's the snow. Alright, nonetheless. Alright, so... Here, another thing is that if I click a spell, nobody aggroes onto me. Spells are different. So Silencer with his Arcane Curse, or whatever that thing is, that passive that he has, he can do damage, or he can right-click you, and he doesn't seemingly push the lane or anything like that. Right? So some heroes can get away from this, right? It looks like a right click or whatever, but it's actually a spell that's being used, and that's why it's not aggroing properly. Okay? So Silencer is a different ball game. I'm not going to go into too much of that. But if this Axe guy is here, you need to ensure that you get the free one shot and you run away. If you do another shot, the second attack that I do, then the creeps will aggro onto me. Okay? So this is why it's super important you step outside, do a right click, and then if I do a second one, oh, I'm outside of 300. But basically, he would have aggroed onto me. Okay? That is important. Second thing, and this is going to be a little bit harder in demo here, and especially with all of my, oh shit, hang on. Get off him, boy. All right. Another thing that I can do is that even if the creep or whatever was about 300 away, if the creep was here, and I right-click onto Axe, he doesn't aggro because he doesn't have line of sight onto me. Okay? That is another thing that is a key learning, because if you're out of line of sight, so this is why you back off, out of line of sight, right-click again, and then you go back in, even if it's within the 300. So if you don't have a lot of space to work with, you have to understand line of sight, okay? And I'm just going to swap between, hang on, let me kill this ward. Where line of sight can actually matter. What the? How did I? What? I don't want that. All right, here we go. Let me kill this ward right here, which gave vision. Okay. Easier or more difficult to do, but actually, how's the best way to do this? Because you can, like, I think from here, actually. So anytime there's like gaps, like you can see the line of sight, right? This is pretty much all I can see, right? This is provided because I have tower vision and it's daytime, so I've even extended, right? But you have to understand how line of sight works in this game. Like, notice I have no vision in these black spots, right? So if somebody was there, I can't see them. But if I spot out, then I can kind of see everybody, right? But you're kind of face checking things. Kind of important. I'm sure, you know, with Acer Phoenix and all that, you play League of Legends, so you kind of understand how these things work in terms of just, you know, face checking things. But line of sight is super important. Understanding it and when you can get that right click in from out of line of sight, running in, getting it, and then running out, right? So you constantly just go in and out with all the trees around, right? So you right click it when you're out of vision. And of course the demo is the worst place to be doing this, but that's pretty much how you ensure that you get these free right clicks on. Okay? So it's going to help you with zoning. So the two biggest takeaways from this is, of course, you know, understanding your maximum attack range. What is that distance? Always keeping yourself in position to be at that maximum distance, just barely out, so that when I right click, I can go in and there's no other creeps here to tank anything, so that just make sure I get those free shots in. So if you look at the pros and you see what they do, they seemingly are untouched. They seemingly can just right click at will at the enemy. But it's because they use this little mechanic here to just hit and run outside of that 300 so that they get free shots in. Okay? Aggro management is one of those things that nobody, like, yeah, there are videos and throughout. Hopefully this clears it up. But yeah, that's the easiest way to zone out and to help yourself as a support. All right?